Second grade, I got kicked out of school for fighting. I fought like all the time. Like I had a chip on my shoulder. Growing up from the North End, North Palm Springs, I was always a short little guy. So everybody used to always try to pick on me, but I had a huge heart. So I begged my dad for about 2 months. Father finally took me. I walked in the gym. It was like I was walked into heaven. It was an old guy. His name was OJ. He stopped me and he goes, "You're different. I see something in his eyes. You're gonna be a champion." The hunger was always there. The ambition was always there. And so my father, he showed me how to motivate myself throughout my entire career. I was a pretty damn good amateur. My father knew that he can only take me so far. The pro game was completely different than the amateurs. The Diaz brothers were big. They put boxing on the map here in Coachella Valley.
He came to me, he believed in me, he believed in my ability to train him.
I trusted in his words, every word that he said. I told him that I would follow it, and I did.
And that's how him and I started. Early in his career, he faced some really tough opponents. So that's how his career was. Every single opponent that he faced, I mean, he wasn't supposed to win. Like at one point, we fought a guy from Brazil. Walking in the event, everybody like, "You're gonna lose. This kid's gonna knock out Bradley." Like, no, he's not.
I was demoralizing the guy, and I eventually caught him with a nice right hand, put him on the canvas, and you'll see people changing money because there was guys in the crowd betting, against me.
We win. From that moment on, I said, this guy's gonna be a world champion.
Everybody was quiet, wasn't it?
When Tim Bradley got ready for Jose Luis Castillo, it was in Cancun.
I get to Mexico, and he didn't make weight.
Tim really wanted it more than anything. He was telling Don King, whatever way he weighs, I'll fight him. So they said no, and he didn't get paid.
And I came back broke. Financially, we were doing terribly. I was still young. I didn't know what was gonna happen.
I think it was a week or 2 weeks later, after we didn't fight Castillo, we get the call to fight Junior Witter. So that was a world title fight for the WBC.
Junior Witter was like the top guy in that weight class. His championship fight was in England. That was kind of the task, let alone that he never fought outside of California.
We started training for that. We go to England.
As soon as my wife gets in, gives me a kiss, and she says, "You have to win." She's like, "We have $14 in our bank account." And I was like, "No doubt." We were in the locker room. We were getting ready to wrap my hands. My dad, out of nowhere, and there were some old wraps. I mean, they were breaking apart. Like, Joel was looking at these wraps and he was wrapping my hands. He was just like, "You wanna wear these?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm taking OJ in the ring with me." Because OJ passed away years ago, before the championship fight. OJ saw this coming. And my father waited for this moment to wrap my hands in this championship moment. Once I stepped foot in the ring, I was like, it's my ring. I'm gonna own it.
And he did exactly what I told him. First round, 2 rounds, he was just in there. He minimized his work. He was just annoying him to the body. And when I told him, okay, he's already frustrated, let him go, he drops Junior Witter. And I said, we got this fight.
It was an unbelievable feeling.
Tim Bradley, against all odds, came back to California, here to the Coachella Valley for the WBC title.
I didn't go travel to England, but we did a follow-up story when he got back. And then at one point, Tim goes, "Someday I want people to say that's the best guy who ever put on a pair of gloves."
It just made me hungrier. I just felt like I wanted more.
So Tim defended his title a couple times, and then he fought this guy, Kendall Holt, which is a unification bout, so that's going to take him up to another level.
Him and my brother Julio were fighting the same day. My brother depended a lot on me because I trained him. Am I going to go with Bradley? I'm going to go with my brother. But then my brother said, "You know what? I've been in the business longer. You go with Bradley. He needs you more." So when I go and I'm in the dressing room, Julio's fighting over here, a random guy just texts me and says, "Oh, Julio got knocked out." I had like a knot in my throat and my chest was hurting because my brother had just got knocked out and I'm walking into a fight with Bradley.
Focused, determined, ready for the fight of his life.
So I came out fast, blazing, just swinging, caution to the wind, just trying to land something heavy on him. He ended up setting me up for the biggest left hook of my life.
Whoa, a left hook! He stretched him!
Bradley gets knocked down and his eyes roll back like a slot machine. Now imagine how I felt. My brother got knocked out and Tim got knocked out, but Tim came back.
I survived the round, went back to the corner, and Joel goes, "Knockdown happened, get over it." Boom, you know what we gotta do. You gotta continue to march forward And you got to continue to put pressure on this guy.
And then from there on, we started dominating the fight, and we ended up with a win.
That served him well, and that separated him from being a good fighter to a great fighter.
At that time, I knew what I was. I know what I'm capable of doing now. I know what skill set I have.
He says, I'm ready. I want to fight the best out there. He felt he belonged in the big leagues.
Top Rank made it pretty clear that they signed Tim to potentially fight Manny Pacquiao.
So heard about it, that the fight was gonna go down, called my dad. I said, man, you sitting down? We got the fight. What fight? Manny Pacquiao. He got quiet. He's crying. I can hear him in the background. I'm like, Dad, you crying? No, boy, I ain't crying. I'm like, man, come on, man. He's like, man, waited our entire life for this moment. You know, he's like, I'm so proud of you. Then shortly afterwards, he was like, it's time to get to work. It's time to get to work. You know what we gotta do. Yeah, Dad, I know what we gotta do.
Nothing was easy for him. Bradley went through hell and back to be where he got to.
I feel like I've been the underdog my entire life. I like that feeling, kind of pushed me.
There's a lot of hoopla going to the fight. Manny was the moneymaker for everyone in boxing at the time. Everyone wanted to see the Floyd Mayweather fight. They wanted to see Manny and Floyd finally get it on.
And they wanted to throw Tim Bradley against Manny Pacquiao so that he can start preparing for a big fight against Mayweather.
Not only was I fighting Manny Pacquiao, I was fighting everyone else.
We had a great camp. Everything was a dream. Even training, it was exciting because that's the very top of the stage.
Mr. Pacquiao, Mr. Bradley, let's do this.
Round one begins.
I could feel how smart he was. He had a lot of experience. I could feel it. But I felt like I belonged. I was like, this is it? Oh, this is Manny Pacquiao? Okay, I'm good. I'm all right. So we got an exchange, back and forth exchange. Next thing you know, I'm like, I plant and something in the bottom of my foot, found out it was my tendon, stretched. And I go back to the corner and I say, I have no balance, my foot. I heard something in the bottom of my foot.
I told him, you got two choices. I'll stop the fight and we go home right now, or you're gonna ignore the pain and keep fighting.
Like, your little foot, Tim, got hurt. Can't live with myself like that. No, I'm gonna fight. And I followed the game plan to a T. The game plan was basically box him, but when he delivers a combination, I gotta come right back. So I would answer his calls every single time.
I thought it was a close fight. Manny was the aggressor, but Manny wasn't landing. I'm sitting here ringside, but the crowd's reacting. I don't know what you're reacting for because he didn't land.
When the fight finished and Tim Bradley's on his feet, to me that was a win.
Look at Tim's face after the fight. His face was clean. There were no marks.
He didn't get knocked out the way everybody else did, and he put up a great fight.
To the winner by split decision, and new WBO welterweight champion of the world, the Desert Storm, Timothy Bradley.
I was just stunned. I was like, holy cow, Tim did it.
It was, at that time, it was probably the greatest feeling, I'd ever had in my career. I'm the man now, I'm the guy. But then shortly after,
you could kind of tell that from the mood of the arena and stuff like that, a lot of people didn't think Tim won the fight. And so you knew that there's going to be some backlash.
I don't think we're blind, and I think that is a terrible, bogus decision.
We celebrated for 2 minutes, and then from that moment on, our life changed.
Chatter started going through the ring, getting to the press conference, and everybody's opinionated. I basically was demonized, like I'm the one that scored my fight.
A lot of shocking things happened, like Bob Arum promoted both fighters, but he really won a warpath against Tim.
Bob Arum walked in there and says, what kind of decision is this? Basically, he grabbed Tim Bradley and threw him under the bus and said, you didn't win, in front of the whole world. All we did was train to win. All we did was train to fight. I mean, whatever happens around the boxing business is not our fault.
Judging fights are not always easy, and that one was not an easy one to judge.
Why would they want me to win? This is Pacquiao we're talking about. You want Pacquiao to win the fight because the Mayweather fight's coming up? They saw what they saw, and I got the decision because they were honest.
If you look at the fight, Tim Bradley was working 2.5 minutes of every round. How can Manny Pacquiao win a fight only working 30 seconds of a round?
You hear the saying all the time, you gotta destroy the champion. That's bullcrap. You won, you win.
If you're watching the fight and you're listening to commentators and you think Manny dominated the fight, and he did not want to dominate the fight.
The commentators, Manny Pacquiao throws a punch, he's not landing it. They're like, what a left hand by Manny Pacquiao, what a left hand. There was never a left hand.
Bradley tried to duck. Pacquiao got him on the top of the head with a left hand.
Turn off the volume and just watch the fight and then judge it there.
The next morning, and nobody's saying a word. Tim Bradley was with his head down. We rode that bus from Vegas to Indio. Nobody smiled. Nobody said anything.
Yes, it's supposed to be a glorifier moment for me, but it wasn't. That's when just things went to hell, straight to hell.
He was unfairly criticized.
They drug my name through mud.
It was horrific. It was a disgrace to the sport.
How in the world did those judges score the fight the way they scored it?
It's hard for me to find any way to give Timothy Bradley the fight.
We see highway robberies of the highest order the way this went down.
Were you guys just watching Pacquiao? You didn't see me hit him back?
We were threatened. Tim Bradley had to move from his house.
It was probably one of the worst times about my life, with my wife, my family, my kids, having to deal with all the criticism and all the cruelty.
I mean, one time in Santa Monica, I was about to get jumped, and I'm with my family, I'm pushing the stroller because I'm called a thief, saying that I stole the fight from Manny Pacquiao. What did I steal?
People looking at you, all crazy, screaming stuff out. You didn't win, you know. Your own people, your own community, around the world, anywhere I went, I was a laughingstock. I did my job. You know, it was a close fight. It's like, you say to yourself, like, what am I here for? What am I doing? There was a point in time where I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I don't even want to live anymore.
I'll go visit him. He was destroyed. Why? Because the politics and the business of the sport really demoralizes the fighter.
Shortly after, my manager, I know how to solve this. Why don't he give the belt back? What do you mean give the belt back? Well, he'll look like a hero and all this will go away. I said, are you kidding me?
You know, it was just tough for him, more so than I even understood.
He was at home, he didn't want to come out, he didn't want to do anything. He was mentally drained, which is not right for a fighter that what he did was just work to perform.
And that did change him quite a bit in terms of the way he fought and how he was with people.
What do you mean give the belt back? Couldn't believe it. At that time, that's when my relationship with my manager spiraled down. And I'm like, you're supposed to have my back. You're supposed to care about me. My wife is a smart woman, started learning how the business worked. And then when it was that time to go, she was ready. You don't see a lot of women in boxing. My wife became my manager because she maneuvered in a way that they respected. She's still respected in the game still today. Shortly after that, we took a trip. I said, I gotta get out of here. I went to Hawaii, and I still was angry. I was driving in the car, my kids in the back, my wife, and I veered into a lane, and I cut a guy off. Honked his horn, pissed me off. I swerved back in my lane, rolled down the window, and I'm ready to lay into him. And he goes, I'm like, dang, you know what? There's still some cool people in this room. And that, I made it a point then to not give a damn about what anybody say about me. The only people that I care about is the ones that's in the car. Their opinion matters. Nobody else's does. That's the day I became a man.
After the Manny Pacquiao fight, he had a broken ankle. He was in a wheelchair for months. And when it was time to get him another fight, they gave us a list. And on that list, it was Ruslan Provodnikov. And Ruslan Provodnikov was always one of the guys that I avoided because he was a beast. And I remember I told his wife, look, this guy Provodnikov, we'll put him at the end. But then that night, I realized I made a mistake. Top Rank or whoever was promoting Tim at the time, they're gonna throw him against somebody that's gonna either beat him or put a whooping on him. That's the guy they're gonna give us. They said that the only one available right now is Provodnikov. I told you. So here we go.
My mentality was to prove to everyone that I'm a champion.
And I remember we're in the dressing room, walking towards the arena, walking towards the ring. I'll never forget his facial expression when I told him, hey, don't be stupid, be smart. Okay, box him, hit him and move, hit him and move. And he goes like this, he goes. When he went like that, when he did that, My body got cold. I got chills to my body because I knew he wasn't gonna do what I told him to do.
All that anger that I had built up over the months was still in me. I never released it. And I felt like this guy's gonna feel everything that I went through. I'm gonna release it on him. He's gonna pay for it.
When he goes in a fight, he got into problems. He got hurt.
We're exchanging and I get hit with this big shot. A huge right hand. My gosh, vicious. I didn't go down, but my equilibrium was off.
Tim Bradley was knocked out.
They don't have no idea where the hell I am. And I'm just visualizing me looking at the fight right now because I had no clue at the time when I was fighting. I'm like a zombie. I was concussed from the first round, concussed.
I did everything for my part to keep him alive. In the 6th round, his eyes rolled back and I said, I'm gonna let him out. And I will wake him up and he will react. And I would ask him questions so he would answer. That's the reason why I would let him go.
Tim in the 6th round was fireworks. He was knocked out standing. I don't know how the guy did it. That wound up being the fight of the year, and that's one of the most courageous fights you'll ever watch.
Unbelievable.
It's a Rocky movie. That was Rocky.
Wow.
By way of unanimous decision, Desert Storm.
I was on autopilot. I wasn't myself at all when I was fighting Pacquiao.
I mean, that fight almost ended his career too. But that was kind of like after effects of the Manny Pacquiao fight.
I showed my heart, I showed my guts, I showed my will. It felt like I had to give that. I could represent this belt. Took me to the concussion specialist. They told me that I should retire immediately because I have CTE. I've done a lot of therapy. You won't get everything back, but you got me back to this point. And what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I'm extremely grateful. I had to go through that. I almost felt like God needed me to go through that to be able to be prepared for what I'm doing now. You gotta have tough skin to be in the media. I've learned that everybody has an opinion, including myself. I think I'm the most honest broadcaster in the history of boxing, period.
I mean, he's bigger than all these guys, and they have to deal with all of those elements I just mentioned. Think about anybody. Think about anybody.
The Hall of Fame is near. Whether people want to believe that or not, I'm knocking. Because of my victory over Pacquiao and Marquez and Devin Alexander and, you know, and Ruzan Pavannikov and so on and so forth.
We look back and even bad moments in our careers, but it's a memorable one. Why? Because that's when Tim Bradley walked out with a victory over Manny Pacquiao, and it's still part of his legacy. He's doing his life, I'm doing mine, you know, and we spoke, and Tim is never gonna change. He's a great human being.
You know, Tim's salt of the earth. I've gone to House of Pokey and he's serving pokey, and I'm like, these other people don't know who he is. I'm like, this guy's a world champion, fought multi-million-dollar fights and was known around the world, and they have no idea. I mean, you wouldn't think a guy like that would be serving you pokey.
I don't feel like I'm bigger and badder than anybody. I feel like I was good at one thing, but I'm still human. I'm in a great position in my life, thanks to 10 years ago with Manny Pacquiao. I'm extremely happy. Once you grow these wings that I got, ain't no coming back.
He never quit, he never gave up, and he always found a way to win. And that's how I define Timothy Bradley.
And can't nobody stop me.